Hello and welcome to episode 11 of our Timberborn 1.0 Waterbeavers playthrough, cycle 11, day 17. Got a bad tide coming up pretty quickly here. As you can see, we got 0.3 days. And we're actually in a pretty good spot for bad tide defense. All we have to do is make sure this is ready to go, which it is, set to a flow limit of 0 cubic meters per second. And this area over here has long since been taken care of, at least temporarily, with the addition of this watertight lodge to block this up. So for right now, we're looking okay. But in the interest of keeping the beavers from being completely poisoned, I'm going to disconnect this path. Most likely because it's only going to be a couple days. We're not really going to need what's over here anyway. But I don't want to have them wading through the bad water if I can help it. And the only stuff that's really happening over here is we've got tree farming and, if I had it turned on, bad water bucketing. So, you'll recall that last episode we put in some of this power here. We've got an ancient aquifer drill that is now powered to 100% and is generating, according to a whole lot of you guys in the comments, too much water, and we're going to flood stuff. Which, you know, that is absolutely a possibility, but I think it's not going to be an issue for a couple of reasons that I will detail throughout this episode. Probably what's going to have to happen is this pit and ladder lodge is going to need to be replaced with a valve lodge like we have up here, or a dam. And I think probably the easiest way to make sure that this doesn't flood is just to put a dam here. But the dam would not allow us to have the, going across thing here, which honestly isn't that big of a deal. But would end up being kind of annoying to get beavers from one side to the other. So we'll see what makes sense after we get through with the bad tide and decide what we're going to be doing. We also put in the Architect's Lodge, and it is starting to build scaffolding, which is great because that massively simplifies what we're able to do with construction. And we have these platforms here, once I decide to research those, and all these other buildings. But another thing the Architect's Lodge does is sets us down the path of, well, in the words of the beavers, structural ambition. So, we've already built farm upgrades. I have been told in no uncertain terms that I need to learn how to read, so we're going to do that. And we're going to place the upgrade modules board wherever that is. Probably actually just figure it out. Wrong order, right order. How not to starve, how not to die of thirst. Farm upgrade board. I'm assuming that's what this is. Because it doesn't say modules board. Oh, never mind. All right, yep, there you go. The meme continues, I suppose. I don't know how to read. So we already knew that. We need to do covered storage, which is where the medium warehouse comes in. We talked about that before, where we need to research this, and I hadn't done that because I didn't have the science. So we probably should go ahead and get that research now that we have 300 of it. And what I'm going to do is right here, instead of having the crappy warehouse and the small pile for the sawdust and the brain-stimulating mushrooms, respectively. Actually, that's not how that works, because I got the order swapped around. I'm going to yeet them, delete them, pop this in here, and set this to the brain-stimulating mushrooms. And then we'll just have to find somewhere to put a pile for the sawdust. But I'm not as worried about that. I could... You know, the pit warehouse is going to be useful enough in other places. I'm not going to feel bad about using the 50 science for that after I decide what is actually going to require that I put something there. Maybe we'll have to come back to that, because now my brain just decided that I didn't know what I was doing. So, for those of you who, I guess we'll say just encouraged me to figure out what in the world I'm supposed to be doing with this. Apparently that's what this billboard is for. I'm not entirely sure how to interpret most of this. But this does seem like it's got these forester-type building on the left and then the triangle one on the right. We already talked about the one that has the zipline on it. And that's a separate zipline building. That's something that we need to get into, which is, you know, it actually kind of ties in nicely to the Architect's Lodge, because that is something that this tech tree does get to. So, before I unlock the pit pile, I did kind of want to take a look at some of these things, because while they do require, well, actually the pylon doesn't, but They do require the blueprints, which have to be researched. I don't know offhand if they are researched in the Mechanics Lodge, or in the Architects Lodge, or in the ENS. It looks like zipline system blueprint. Okay. Well, let's think about this before we spend any more science. The zipline blueprint, I think, is this one? Yes. Pencil sets we are not currently making, but we can. Paper we are currently making. We're not making brain-boosting salts yet, but we can, should we feel the need to do so, and the rest of this is fine. So if we dedicate 12.5 days of architectural knowledge, we can get zipline system blueprints and 50 science points, and that, I think, is going to be one of the best things we can pursue at this time. So, I need to make sure before I do that I have enough scaffolding to do what I think I want to do. And then go ahead and figure out what kind of zipline stations I want, because that's the standalone one. This is the one that goes on top of 2 adjacent buildings. This is a pylon, which, you know, doesn't have to have the blueprint, but is still something we have to build. Zipline pylon we're not going to get to for a long time. And then the large farmhouse add-on is also a great thing, but we don't have any large farmhouses. So I'm thinking this zipline station right here, the very first one, is going to be what we want to do. We don't have to unlock it yet. But we do have enough science, because this takes 100, for us to unlock this and unlock the zipline pylon. And if we had just a tiny bit more, also get the pit pile. And the pit pile, like I said, is going to be useful in a bunch of other spots. Probably a little bit more so than the long tiny pile. And it's also cheaper. We already have these. I know we could do the industrial pile, but that's 200. I'm going to go ahead and do this. And then pop this guy right here. Set that to sawdust, which is what it was doing before. And then we need to come over here to where our gnawing station is, because I said I was going to let them finish doing the screw press axle before I set this to sawdust. So we'll do that. We'll let them do what they got to do, but we are going to have to wait for it, and that is going to not be, you know, something we can mess with for a while. So, we finished the medium warehouse. Talked about covered storage, something. Oh, I do love the flavor text for this, though. Talking about the ivory towers. That was a great Halo 2 map, by the way. Anyway. Now, more architectural knowledge. Zipline network is exactly what they're suggesting we do first, which is what we're going to do. Brain boosting salts will have to be made. So, the questionable directorate of applied chemistry. I'm not sure what this means, or this is supposed to mean. It seems we would get along just fine, but I think all of everybody behind these things are maybe the worst that beavers could possibly come up with, based on some of the other stuff I've seen them say. So, we're just going to let them do what they got to do, and just follow the directions, not necessarily, you know, spend too much time with these guys. Bureau of Intellectual Property, yes, of course. So, taking a look at the Alchemist, we do see we have the recipe for brain-boosting salts. Without clicking off of the nitroglycerin recipe. I'll pull this up here, and that needs the strong alcohol. Remember, there's a reason why we're doing all this. Bad water, strong alcohol. Bad water is currently stored behind our little mess over here, so we can't get it right now, but we will at some point. And we do have a full stock of strong alcohol. So, seeing how our current dynamite situation is fine, I'm going to go ahead and get this swapped over to brain boosting salts so they can stock up on the strong alcohol and the logs. And then when the bad water becomes available, we'll send them over to get it. We have another 4 days for that. Just going to get as much legwork done as we can in the meantime. And then I believe all I have to do is figure out how much scaffolding I want to have. I currently have 9. And they've already got that put in place there. I think for the next 12.5 days, I'm probably not going to be hard up for scaffolding, and if I am, then that's my own fault. So let's go ahead. It's only at 6%. Let's get this swapped to zipline system blueprints. I know we don't have brain boosting salts yet, but we can get the rest of this stuff brought in here. 4 days to get back over there is not going to be as much time as you think. This is going to mean that we aren't going to have, because of, you know, just time constraints, we're not going to have zip lines today, but we're going to get the legwork done. I'm going to go ahead and move that along. Oh, it disappeared. Okay, well, that's convenient. I suppose all we can do now is just get this on triple speed, make sure that we're doing okay with regard to other stuff. I think a lot of this, honestly, is just hurry up and wait. Which may or may not be that great of an idea. This is bad water here. We don't want to send anybody in. We already talked about that last time. I do think we can get this reasonably cleared before too long. It might not take as much time as you think. Since we have space over here, we have all of this, and these are currently dry. This would probably be a good time to go ahead and put in... I'm not building another wood felling planification lodge because that just, I don't think makes much sense. At least not right now. I'm going to put in a bunch of these lumberjack flags and then just mark all of this for cutting, as well as all of this. Honestly, this whole thing should probably already be marked because, obviously. Just going to let them do what they got to do. Hopefully nobody gets poisoned because, you know, that would be bad, but if they do, that's their own fault. Operate at your own risk, etc. But getting this cleared out is going to be a good thing because eventually there is a bunch of stuff we want to put on top of these ruins. There always are with water beavers. And we'll want to have access to this sooner rather than later. I am going to deprioritize these in case I forget, which is very likely. Let's get that taken care of. Help these guys clear out just a little bit over the next 3 days. This actually is not serving a purpose right now. So if I pause this, that's going to make sure that more of this is accessible, and I might actually be able to get more of these in here. Maybe, depending on how we want to do this, get all of this removed since they can't spread in 3 days, and we'll have like 9 or, well, I guess it's 9 beavers working on this. We have to remember to turn this back on. This is currently got nowhere else to put anything. I know at one point, last episode, I did extol the virtues of making a bunch of tar. We currently have 51, which is enough once we have the science to build a couple of medium tanks. But I do think getting ziplines sooner rather than later is going to be a smart choice because we're starting to get a little bit spread out, and ziplines are really, really going to help. Just got to do what we got to do. I also think it's going to behoove us to have the tunnels sooner rather than later. If I can remember where they are. Somewhere. Is that under... Yes. Okay. We technically can do this now if I wanted to spend the science on it. And honestly, judging by how this is laid out, this is actually very, very conveniently laid out. Maybe right through here would be about our shortest path. I only have 12 dynamite, which obviously is not going to be enough to get through here. But we're not as far away from having tunnels through this as you might think. It's just a matter of, you know, allocating what we have the ability to do effectively, which, you know, admittedly is not always something I'm good at. But we're past the immediate super danger point. Look at this, making 237 HP, so I told you this was going to make more stuff. It's just too bad we don't really have, you know, much to do with the power at this exact moment in time. Is it worth building another screw press down here, even though I can't really do anything with it yet? I think, honestly, the answer to that question is yes. Just so we can have that. That is in the correct spot. Yeah, okay. Because we're making the power, we might as well use it. This, of course, set to sunflower oil. There's a number of recipes that utilize it, including in The Alchemist. So having that on site is going to be a smart choice. I've got storage for sunflower seeds. I've got the storage for, not technically Fago, but I always think it's Fago. Let's put in a plank tank for sunflower oil. Just right here. And that should being the operative term, be of a massive help to us. So this has been loaded up with strong alcohol. In theory, I should also be coupling that with having the distillery make more to backfill this, and then once this has a little bit in it... Oh, this was already active. Okay, why was it not... Oh, this was what was paused, because we didn't have enough paper, and the paper is being used to do that. But that's backfilled. There we go. Okay. Anyway, I want this to have stuff in it so I can change the recipe from the brain-boosting salts back to making nitroglycerin, because then they're not going to have anywhere to take the strong alcohol out and put it somewhere else. If you are, holding your head and screaming and crying and throwing up, trying to understand how my brain works, just quit while you're ahead. But because you're not going to figure it out. I'm sorry, but it makes sense to me, and that's how we're going to do it. I do kind of want to get started on this, and if it's going to come through, let's just check this again. Yeah, because like here or here, honestly, would be fine. So I know science is not going to be an impossibility, and since we're not going to have the other stuff quite yet, I do think it is worth getting this done sooner rather than later. So if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I need more than 10, but that's going to get me 12 is the amount of explosives that I have. 13, 14, 15, 16 is going to get me where I want to go, and then I can just keep up with this, make this an accessory thing. But hey, the bad tide's already over. So guess what that means? It means we can just continue as normal. They also can't reach this. By the way, we do have to get a path over there. But as for how we handled the rest of this, I think we're fine. It is unfortunate that this water seep is always going to be contaminated every single time we do this. But, and I should have done this because I was a little short-sighted. I always forget that all I've got to do is just blast a hole here, and then I can have a bad water bucketing post gradually clean this out without flooding the area with poison. So, I know we do have limited explosives. I still think this is worth doing. So I'm going to do that. This is already running almost completely clean, and this is now flowing in. We don't need to worry about this yet, but at some point soon this is going to overfill. And that's the time where we're going to have to decide how we're going to handle outflow here, and that is most likely going to result in removing this lodge and, in all honesty, probably just building a primitive dam. We do have access staircase here and on this side as well, so removing this and replacing it with a dam without researching the utility dam that allows the beavers to, if I can remember where it is, there's one of these that allows the beavers to walk through it, and I don't know exactly where it's at. But it's not going to be that big of a deal. Strong alcohol is about half full. I think I can safely set this back to nitroglycerin, and then the strong alcohol will only be taken out if it has to be. And this is already set to dynamite. It's waiting on sawdust. I think enough time's gone by. Oh good, they just started. Guess what? Now you're making sawdust. That will solve, or at least ameliorate, many, many problems. And guess what these beavers got to do? Is they... okay. They got rid of all of this with the exception of a few here. I know it does go up, and I know it does go across corners, but this is a big, big help. And they're working on getting this done, so... knowing how this is set up, I think with the minimal cost that this is going to incur upon us, I do think it is going to be a smart idea to go ahead and just completely clear this off. I need to make sure these are top priority. I should have been checking this, to be perfectly honest with you. But I need them to be able to build without it being a whole ordeal. Especially this bit here. I think that's about as bad as it's going to get, because they can't overtake these bushes that are currently not dead. That, of course, has to be a fence gate. This should, operative term being should, allow us to do what we want to do. And it can't spread beyond that. I just want to see the beavers come in here to take care of everything else. Let this get clean. We'll send these guys back in to do this. Got 6 vacancies. I need to babysit this, or else it's going to become a problem very fast. Why is no one getting this? Why is no one getting this? Because very soon it's going to mature, and it's going to... Why are they walking across an open pit? They should not be able to do that. Should not be possible. That's at 34%. That's at 57%. Yeah, this is going to potentially cause issues. Didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. Well, that's the way she goes. What else can I do at the same time? This is already... Don't walk in front of this. Please and thank you. Okay. Yeah, just putting a bad water bucketing post here will help us slowly decontaminate this. And then eventually I can reopen that, although we probably aren't going to need to. Let's keep an eye on water levels. Okay, that is very high. Let's pause. Let's pause to breathe. Pause to think. We've got 57, 54. And this is about to mature. This is a little bit further away. I already have these marked. They're maximum priority. I don't think there's much else I can do with that. Keeping this running is probably fine long term, but considering where we are, I'm just going to hit pause on this. This is the easiest short-term solution. Working on that. Is this clean yet? It is, which means I can get this reconnected and then let these guys get to the other side. Theoretically, they could start building from both sides and meet in the middle. I don't know that we really need to be that worried about it. All these supplies are here, and the storage for those has not backfilled. Otherwise, I might put this back to scaffolding, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. Still waiting on the bad water, but as soon as that comes in, I do want to put this back to brain boosting salts. I just need to make sure I've got enough nitroglycerin, which I have 21. I have 16 explosives, which should be enough. I think we can successfully juggle a little bit more, but I feel like I need to monitor this just a lot. Okay, where's my builders taking care of this? Because now this is going to spread and it's going to be horrible. Oh wait, I need to have a wood fence here anyway. Because that has to connect to that. I guess that is okay. Yeah, 63%. That is almost certainly going to spread. They're not going to build this before that goes. I think I'm okay leaving this as it is. If they start building this, maybe I'm going to have to get rid of it. Yeah, brambles, man. I'm telling you. Brambles are always going to be a problem unless you deal with them expeditiously. Okay, so that's taken care of. That can go back there. This guy is just about done, which means that can go there. Now this is the only one that's left. Oh, you know what? I somehow forgot this was not accessible. Okay. Once again, in absolute awe of these levitating beavers over the pit of despair. Very impressive. That is going to be a problem. Now it's not going to be a problem. Unless they start building this fence. Which somehow I don't think is going to be an issue. Just gotta let these guys do what they gotta do. The flooded building, I should probably check out what that is. But it's only one. So I don't think it's an issue. Almost there. Almost. Almost there. You better finish this before you go somewhere else. Alright, good job. That has to stay there. This fence can go back in. Okay, so now we have this. That seems like it is fine. These are not minimized. I also probably don't need to have all of these. In fact, I'm going to just hit pause on probably most of those. Help equalize things just a tiny bit. Because I need to turn this back on because I need to get in and remove probably... Because these won't grow back because they're flooded. In theory, yeah. I need to get up here. And this being up here is, you know, it's not that big of a deal. But claiming some of this back is definitely a good step. Definitely a good step. That's still working, waiting on planks and ropes. Do I have ropes? I do have ropes. Do I have planks? Yes, I do. Do I have logs? Yes, I do. This making sawdust is fine because I need the sawdust for other stuff. 20 explosives is probably fine, to be perfectly honest. Let's switch this to pencil sets. Paper is going to be a concern. This is, you know, 5 hours for a piece of paper is still quite a lot. But the problem with the paper mill is, one, it's locked behind some science we don't quite have. And also a little expensive in terms of, you know, trying to find a way to supply power to it. Okay, good. They did start building this. I'm going to need to have them cut down some of these pine trees that are immediately right here, and I'm going to have this path just go straight the way through. And I need them to be able to access this, which is going to... No, come on. It's going to require a platform coming here and a couple of staircases. Very easy to get access to. And we could probably connect that from up here as well, but for right now I just want this to be accessible. Probably could go straight through this way, but I don't think I want to mess with that right now. This is still paused. Which building was flooded? Oh, it's the relic people keep telling me I need to get to. Okay, well, right now it's not a huge priority, but that'll be there basically forever as far as I can tell. See, otherwise, we still keep running out of sunflower seeds. We need to be planting more of those, but I don't want to get too behind on cabbages, so I probably shouldn't be doing too much more of that. I know we have to get power from here up somewhere. That was something I was going to talk about doing today. Not exactly a simple process. Maybe coming top down would be easier than bottom up. Just have to be able to go down and then maybe wrap around somewhere. Or easier, but still costs science and uses the scaffolding, is to just do vertical power shafts. I think that's what we're going to have to do. Most likely. They still haven't gotten to this. Okay, I know I'm jumping around a lot, but there's a lot of different things that have to be taken care of. I'm going to go ahead and swap this over to brain-boosting salts again, because I only need 20 for them to start, and this is a 12.5-day process, like I said. So at most of a cycle at the very least. Should have started that earlier. Is what it is. At least now we have sunflower oil being made up here. Berry juice might be a decent thing to start doing. I don't see a point here for that. Maybe we won't. Maybe we won't do that. I don't have to have this running up here, by the way, and this is not a great spot for it anyway. That's just where we had power, so I'm going to keep that paused. No rule that says we can't do that. Yeah, see, I want them to be able to do this. They're working on that. Not the end of the world by any means. I do think, judging how this is going here, I just want to have a single staircase. So if I have this set here, I can build through the dead ones for pathing, but I can't build, or they're not dead, but they're going to be dead. Maybe this one, yeah, it's going to be faster for me to just have this be removed. Seems like this is doing okay, though. Yeah, no real complaints otherwise for that. I think that's fine. How are we doing? No brain boosting salts yet, or are they just taking their sweet time? Ah, it's the bad water that's the problem. I do have storage for bad water. It is not prioritized. It probably should be. Let's do that. Because I know I've got some over here. And in a perfect world, this tunnel would already be complete. We can fill this up later, if we so choose, with a simple building. If, for example, we wanted to flood this and make a giant dam, like at least a few people have suggested, I think that would be kind of fun. We got a lot of work to do to tame the rest of the map, so that is not on my immediate list of concern at this time. Brain-stimulating mushrooms still necessary for making science, which we do have currently working slowly. As long as we have 100 science by the time I have a blueprint for the ziplines, then I think we're going to be okay. But one blueprint, if you are not familiar with water beavers, or even if you are and want a refresher, one blueprint is going to have to be duplicated if we don't want to do the research again. You have to make copies, and that comes from the Artist Lodge and the Copyist Lodge. The Artist Lodge fancifies it, or improves it, I guess, depending on what you look at. One of these, hopefully, is going to be, yeah, there it is. It's going to be fancified, and then you send it over to the copyist to copy it, and those are two separate buildings. We don't really have to worry about building these. They're not very expensive, and they can be shut off at will as long as you're not using them. Or you can have them set to make comic books, which are a durable good that the beavers can hold on to for their own enjoyment. Okay, now I've got these guys coming all the way across here to build from this side. Instead of building the simple platform here, let's prioritize that. We're at a spot now where I'm not going to feel bad about getting rid of these trees. That probably should be prioritized. I just build that through there. Did we get this taken care of? No, I'll also prioritize that, which I know they're not going to get to it super quickly, but is what it is. These guys are still harvesting here, which is good because we do need bramble flowers. I do think long-term keeping this general area as a bramble preserve is probably not a bad choice. I am going to end up putting the wood felling planification lodge probably in the middle here once I have access to go across. We will see what happens. Yeah, I'm going to let them take care of that. Probably should go ahead and get this path connected. Yeah, we're making progress. Not super fast, but we're making progress. Brain boosting salts coming in here. What is the timeline on these? 0.3 hours for one. But they're definitely being held back by the bad water. I don't want to increase the population too much. I probably should have this up and running, but it's honestly probably farther away. 143 away from the district center, which is here. This is 185, but this is closer. I don't think we need to be that worried about it. It's just gonna be what it's gonna be. But I really want this to get started as soon as possible. Also, the pencil sets aren't there. And that is waiting on paper, which we've already established is kind of a problem. But the paper was previously being used to make dynamite. So I don't know that there's anything else using paper. I probably should check, but we don't have that mod anymore that does the goods tracing in 1.0. 1.1 has the statistics built in, but this is not 1.1. We normally would have this here. There is a mod called Tool Finder that does tell you what buildings do what, but it doesn't give you usage statistics. That is unfortunate. Otherwise, it's a very, very good mod. Well, I guess all we can do now is just kind of just let it be what it's got to be. 5 hours per piece of paper is pretty rough. But in theory, we only need 4 pieces of paper to make enough pencil sets for this to be viable. And this already... Actually, no, this already has 5. Okay. So we really only need a couple more sheets, including the one that we've got. Everything else is pretty good to go. Just need them to transfer this stuff over. Brain boosting salts. Benny over here having to go grab absolutely everything alone. Well, I think we're doing well enough with most of this that I can leave this in triple speed for the most part and not be in a big problem kind of situation. They're not also pumping super quickly because we have pretty full storage. I know I need to build more of that. We're not quite there yet. Almost with this staircase. And that's going to be great because we'll be able to get through the mountainside. Just little tiny improvements. Going to make a huge difference. That's why it's always great to make little incremental progress like this. Even if it's a little slower than, you know, normal playthroughs on Iron Teeth or Folktales, provided you're not doing the crazy, stupid hard maps. So I think that is enough for them to probably meet up with each other without running out of stuff to look at. Yep, that's just explosives and logs. We're up to 12 brain boosting salts. This is, yeah, still waiting on the bad water. That is the deal. Oh, and this is... okay, well. I do deserve that, not keeping track of actually running out of bad water. That's on me. That's on me. I guess I forgot that this wasn't actually completed yet. Okay, well. Is what it is. Did they ever get this taken out? They did. Okay, let's put the stairs up. Because this is marked... Not marked, actually. It needs to be marked for cutting. I don't think they can reach very far up here, but I only need a little tiny bit. And it's consistently 3 across except for a couple spots. I'm probably going to want to go maybe not right here because that's 4. Maybe not right here because it's that close to the edge. Maybe I do want to go across here. I think that's going to have to be... It's going to have to be where I go. Remember that without doing any more research, we have the 2x1 and the 1x1 that I could easily put here. We want to stay above this because this is a bad water evacuation zone. So that seems like it's fine. I want to put this across the river maybe. Maybe somewhere around here. Not entirely sure. It's a first floor entrance, so I don't want to have it down in the spot. You know what? Actually, this is not going to work here because of the positioning of the doorway. I'm going to have to put it here. And then have this turned around. Yeah, maybe not. You know what I'll do is I will have this... I'm going to have to put this here and then... No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're just going to leave that like it is. We got 15 jobs down. Remember that a lot of those are ones that aren't required to have somebody in them. How are we doing on this? Okay, wow. Did we accidentally get all the way through? No, we did not. Okay, but they're making very good progress. And we're up to 14. How are we doing on pencil sets? We have all 10. Not a bad idea to have extra pencil sets. We have 20, although I'm probably going to have this go back to ropes. Except this one's already set on ropes, so I guess we'll just leave that alone. Never mind. I always forget when I have multiples of something. Now I'm thinking of the technology connections meme. The magic of 2 of them. This is fine. This is fine. I mean, that's basically what this is, right? It's just a whole bunch of this is fine, whether it's actually fine or not. We just need more farm space. Which kind of brings me back to this whole thing over here when I said I was going to move the chestnut trees. But I don't really have enough space. Gather a flag, gather a flag. Do I want to try and move? Because I know there's a building that allows you to do better gathering. The Harvester's Cottage, which is also an upgradable triangle roof building, yes. Or you can build one of these. But that does chestnuts and berries, so maybe what I should be doing, especially since we don't have any bad water coming from here ever again, maybe I should have this area over here be chestnut trees. I think that's going to make sense. I've got plenty of sawdust here. Probably don't need to have this quite so full of sawdust. Let's take this down. Let's do 2 beavers. Making sawdust. I think that's probably going to be something that's worth doing, is cutting down some of these trees, because this, honestly, this was just here because I had to build 2 of them for the tutorial, and I probably don't need to keep that many. I'm going to do it. I'm going to leave this, and then probably build a Harvester's Cottage maybe right about here-ish? Wherever I can do without removing as many of these blueberries as I possibly can. But I can also get down to this relic, depending on how we want to do this. I could very simply put a staircase here, assuming that's not going to have clearance issues. I'm just going to try this, see if that works. And if they can't get it, then they can't get it. But for now, this is probably going to be about as good as I can do. I've got this over here. Is this actually fully connected yet? It is, but technically no. And now it is. Look how much this is going to save them. Look how much that's going to save them. That's fantastic. This no longer has to be active. I can take this tapper's flag from here and instead place it probably, because that other building we're going to build is not going to be close enough. I always have to remember where this thing goes. Tapper's flag. Let's do... I guess right here is probably fine, because those are the ones that survive. These trees will slowly make their way back over here, but that's going to mean I don't have to have this here. This crappy warehouse of pine resin can probably be put somewhere else now that I have an actual warehouse. That could get something built on top of it, but I want to keep this for other processing things, so probably just put this here, and it'll be okay. I'm going to get this moved out. This is closer to basically everything anyway. And then that's going to mean if I have this to harvest, I don't have to feel bad about removing a substantial quantity of that. And maybe... Okay, that doesn't really work. That doesn't go all the way through the mountain like I thought it might. Well. Regardless, this is going to be fine. That's probably... I'm not even using that many chestnut trees right now anyway. And this is closer to over here for making chestnut beer into strong alcohol. And we can have so many different things come up all at once. That is too far from a district center, so let's get this connected. Is this still too far? It is. Why is that too far? Is that because... Oh, never mind. Somehow I thought this was going to be closer. There we go. All right, well, we're going to get our science. We are going to get our science. That pine resin can be picked up, and if not, then it's not a big deal because we have more of it than we're currently using anyway. And I am not going to be held hostage by that any more than I have to. Lumberjack can jack all the lumber they want. And then I suppose it's probably about time, first of all, to consider where this goes in. Are they doing... They're doing this? Oh, good. We're 25% of the way through. You love to see it. Brain boosting salts, probably don't need to be making too many of those right now. Let's go back to making nitroglycerin and have this set to... I guess still pencil sets is fine. I've got 60, so maybe that's fine. We'll go back to this. I was going to check and see which spots the door is. In the middle. Okay. So I'm trying to line this up. That would actually work out pretty well to have that here. In terms of reach, oh yeah, that would have tons of reach. Basically everywhere over here with the exception of most of this space, but I only need it to go as far as I'm going to be planting chestnuts. Already talked about the Harvester's Drying Tower, Harvester's Cottage. If I did 2 of those... Ah, no, so this is one that has to be on top of a small tower in a triangle building. See, I can read sometimes. I don't know that I want to use this unless I was going to put an irrigation tower here, which I honestly don't know is going to be necessary. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to, for better or for worse, I'm going to, you know, let you guys drive the bus a little bit more and convince me to try this out. So, for now, I think I can get away with doing maybe... Okay, no, let's check and see how this goes. That goes... Triangle roof building goes on the right. Okay, that's not exactly what I wanted that to be, because then I'd have to put that there. So that's the entrance. Okay, let's hit pause. Let's take a moment to breathe. If I put a harvester's cottage there, and I have a forester, which forester is not something I'd keep long term, but for the sake of argument, that goes there. And then I put the harvester's drying tower on top of it. That's going to give me additional harvesters. But I don't need, long term, don't need the forester here unless I was going to, you know, fix the berry situation. So, instead, if I'm going to commit to this, which I'm not going to necessarily do, but if I'm going to commit to this, I need to find another building that is the same small tower shape that's going to allow me to do that. I don't know that I've got... Ah! Ha ha ha! Ha 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 ha! Now, I do not have the science to put this down, but if I made this a zipline station and then put the cottage upgrade whatever on it, that would be a good thing to do. And this, importantly, can reach most of this that I want, and I don't have to keep all of this as blueberries either. That Seems like it's going to be worthwhile. This could be moved to be other storage or something like that. Or I could move this over, and I did this. Let's try that. That still is going to get me almost everything I want. Yeah, okay. Okay, that's going to have to be what this is. That is going to have to be what this is. So just to make this as simple and, you know, frustration-free as possible, that is going to be what this is. Warehouse for some of this crappy warehouse? No. I think for where we are, this is probably... Oh, no, this is actually blocking. If I do that there, yeah. That's probably going to be about the best I can do. But I do need a forester to plant the rest of these trees before I... Okay, I'm doing too much. Doing too much without it making any sense. We're getting there. We're getting there, folks. Harvester's Cottage definitely needs to be here. And I definitely need to plant the correct trees. So I need to make sure that putting a forester here is going to allow me to plant all the chestnuts I want, which it's not. But this isn't staying here anyway, so it doesn't matter if I build this here and then get rid of it. So I think that is going to be fine. Nothing is marked for cutting. I'm going to get these guys out of here. This thing spread here quickly, like it was upset about not being able to get anywhere. 39%. 39%. Okay, working okay. This is empty. Doesn't need to be here. We can cover that. And our water level is getting a little low. I'm going to turn this back on. Remember, this is going to pump way more than we probably need it to. A couple people said, what if I put in some water wheels here? How much power would that help generate? I mean, it's not an insignificant amount, but I don't think it's going to be crazy necessary. If I put it here, it's 16, 19, 20 something. It fluctuates. Put it here, it's a little bit less, but I have to be able to connect the power to it, so it really would have to be here. And it's a good idea. I'm just probably not going to do it. This is... Yeah, this is going to have to just get cleared with impunity here. Yeah, I'm not gonna wait for them to cut this down. We already have 400 something trees, and we know we have other stuff elsewhere. I need to get those chestnuts done so I can cut them down over here, and these will actually get me a pretty decent amount of wood. They'll give me 4 each. And then I can change this to be more cabbages, or more than likely more sunflowers. Gotta keep the beast fed. Okay. Almost halfway there. That is working. Let's get this forester to work planting chestnuts. I probably can just have this be completely taken over here. This lumberjack flag can no longer flag any lumber that they jack. So that goes away. This is not able to reach anything. No, it can, because they have this access. So we just have to wait. This has to get planted. This is waiting on... How are we out of tools? Okay, well, I guess we just have to keep on, you know, swapping these back and forth. Okay. Yeah, we're still not having enough mushrooms, enough berries. I know I talked about moving mushrooms. There's just so many different things that have to be done. Oh, I've got science now. Hold on, hold on. Hold your horses. We can go ahead and research the zipline station. They can't build it yet, but we can research the zipline station and place it down. And then... Actually, let's hit pause so I don't make a horrible mistake. Harvester's drying tech. I was told this was going to fit. Oh, no, 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 no. No. Am I just doing this wrong? Okay, before I get irritated more with this, I'm going to make sure that I wasn't just doing it wrong, which is probably what was happening. Let's get these two out of here. Let's move it back one and then see what happens. Alright. Well, if I can't use this here, it's not the end of the world, because I do want to have this unlocked anyway. It's just like, that would have been great if I could have had that. Yeah, okay, here we go. Here we go. That's exactly what I wanted to do. I put this here. The zipline probably can't go up through it, which it wasn't going to do anyway, but this would be, I think, a very good thing. This is going to allow us to have 4 workers in the drying tower. And how many workers in here? It says 3 inhabitants, but that is... Wow, 8 workers for harvesting? Yeah, we're going to have a lot of stuff very efficiently. That's good. That is good, but we don't need this yet. Just remember, that's what's going to go there. And I need to make sure that I've got this primed to connect somewhere else, which it will. We also need this to be paused because the zipline system blueprint we don't want to suck up before it can be duplicated. It does have to be fancified, and it is 6.5 days away. But I know if I forget that I'm going to forget. And you might be saying, that doesn't make any sense. Well, it makes sense to me, and that's what matters. So, let them continue with that. Planting more of these. Chestnut-wise, I've got... I don't even know where to look for chestnuts. Oh, 192. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to check these, and I'm going to start cutting down the ones that are already harvested. And then just let them continue to harvest from what's left. Because I know the wood felling planification lodge can reach everything. I do not want these to be marked for replanting at all. I just want them to be cut. And then we'll slowly start migrating. Some of this storage can be moved elsewhere. Is there an upgrade to the farmhouses that has storage? I feel like there is. But honestly, we probably just need to have a system of farmers. Warehouses, or it would be under houses, wouldn't it? Storage lodges. That's a crate storage house. I feel like there's an upgrade to this. Maybe I'm just losing it. No, I don't see... Huh. Alright, well, no sense being weird about it. Okay, so that's taken care of. They're planting here. This has already been taken care of there. Gives them plenty to do. That's fine. We are, in theory, going to be cutting some of these trees down. Just need to make sure anything that does not have chestnuts in it is marked for cutting, and they'll eventually get to it, I suppose. Probably. And then hopefully we'll be able to plant something else somewhere else. Chestnut storage. Since that is now an issue. Platforms, scaffolding, probably worth doing something about here. The florist, not a great spot for this, to be perfectly honest. But until I have somewhere else for it to go, I don't think I'm going to worry about it. Chestnuts. Can they get all the way across? They probably can. This needs to be simplified. Oh, but chestnut beer isn't being made. It's being made over here. So that needs to go somewhere else. And that is a levy, so it doesn't have to be... Alright. I know we're jumping around a bunch of different spots, but I think... Okay, where was that I wanted? It's under cooking. Yes, fermentation house. Fermentation house. Can I flop it? I can. This right here would not be a bad thing for us to do. But it's not a second story entrance. There's not a variant of that. Okay. This is probably about as close as I can get it, to be perfectly honest with you. Just get that set up there. I've got... Yeah, you know what? That's going to work. That is probably what we should be doing. We need to be using the strong alcohol to really make this worth running, but that seems like it's doing okay. How are we on this? 55%. Got a day and a half before a drought. This is... Looks like it's actually kind of clean. This guy has almost nothing else. Let's leave that paused. I don't think we need to have clean water coming through here. This is basically just a clean out at this point. Unless we wanted to actually plant more stuff up here, and then that gets kind of complicated with water beavers, because you can't just put a fluid dump anywhere. There has to be in a specific spot. Oh, you know what? I had them working on this, and then I completely forgot, because I obviously did. Yeah, I wanted this removed so I could build a thing, and they did, except they didn't. Oh, I can't fake mark this for anything. Okay. Well. I think it would not be unreasonable for me to hold this, since that's already been cleared. I could actually just build it as a platform and just have that done and not worry about it, instead of having it be a bridge. I will do that, because that's the less cheesy way to go about doing this. No, I don't care about that one being done. I feel like I've got too much going on. It's very easy for me to make mistakes here. Let's try to rein it in just a tiny bit. I know this isn't going to be done right now. Is there anything else I need to do before the drought starts? I've got bad water. I probably should have made more bad water, but no. I think it's okay. I think we're going to be fine. We've gotten enough stuff secured that was going to be an annoying problem to solve that I think we're going to be in okay shape. I do want to try to move this first. The reason I'm putting this here is so that I can put this sideways and have a better shot at grabbing more of this. Yeah, I just think this is going to be easier. Going to be better, etc., so on and so forth. So I don't need this here. I can move that. That's going to be done. That's going to be done. Then I need this and this gone. And that's going to be a building. This has to be connected. Pathwise, I think that's fine. And then it doesn't really matter how the path for this goes. I just need to be able to actually access everything. Okay. Oh, this flooded because someone wasn't paying attention. I wonder who that was. I'll let you guys figure that out. That'll be alright. This will get pumped out because these pumps don't flood. So that'll be alright. That'll get sorted. Planted trees. Looking okay. Okay, 9-day drought. That is definitely going to be a next episode thing. 66% on this. Yeah, let's let them pump this low enough to actually be usable, and then, yeah, slow this down. No need to rush. The rest of this getting harvested one piece at a time. I am going to start planting my sunflowers in the empty spots. Chestnut storages can slowly be removed. They're not doing anything with the chestnuts over here unless I was making cereal bars, so I'll leave one chestnut storage. Do they use the chestnuts in cereal bars? Yes. I'll leave one chestnut storage. The pine resin. Why is the pine resin over here? Was that part of the, Yes, okay. So I guess that probably should stay, but it doesn't have to stay right there. Okay, I'm not going to mess with the storages just yet. I just need to be taking every possible opportunity to plant sunflowers, because that's kind of holding us back. Okay, that's working out okay. As soon as the chestnut tree planting is complete, I need to actually, no, not that button. I need to unmark these for cutting, because otherwise they will be cut. Actually, there's not even something to reach in here to cut them. Should I... Yeah, since they're already here, I should plant this as a chestnut tree. At least those three. That'll be a good thing. Okay, so we're pumping. That's all looking good. They finished this. In the process of making chestnut beer. This one's also in the process. I don't really need to keep this one over here, but I don't have to get rid of it necessarily. I could just change this over to making half-fermented sake, because that's something we're also going to need. And that's close to the rice. I think that's what it was originally doing, and I just kind of forgot about it. Oh, we're over an hour, so that means I got to end soon, but I really want to make sure. Okay, the only other way I'm going to, you know, be fine with this is I need to put an artist lodge and I need to put a copyist lodge. These can be kind of annoying to build because of the requirements for different things. Copyist lodge has the second story entrance. In theory, that should be close to over here, but the way this is set up is not really... Oh, okay, well this one actually would fit decently right here. Put a copyist lodge, just get that connected, and then... storage-wise, with the blueprint scroll display, this would be a very good thing to have nearby. 30 science. What else do I have to research? Is there a reason I haven't... I'll tell you what, we'll hold off on this. You got to remind me that I've got to do that next time. But I need an artist lodge, which has to be... Oh, I forgot that this has the weird setup here. Is there going to be a way for me to stack these without it being really dumb? Can't really put... Surely it can't possibly be that easy. Surely it cannot possibly be that easy. Oh no, but it says it's too far away from a district, so... Okay, well, I do like the idea of this being up here, though. That's very funny. Because then you can have the artists and the architects have wars with each other. Do I want to... He says, without elaborating on what it is he wants to do. I think this can be removed. And then that can be... Taking that out, taking that out. Gives me access to up here, which, you know, I don't need long term, but I do want this to be built. I need to set that to the zipline system, and then I need to set this to the zipline system, so they'll just continuously duplicate each other's stuff. And then we'll have enough that when this is ready to go, it will be able to actually be completed. So I know I said I was going to keep this paused, but what I'm going to do, while we're doing our end of episode stuff, is let them start building this, because there's not a fancy blueprint to fulfill that at this time, but there is a tremendous need for the rest of the stuff to be put in place before it's forgotten. So, I'm glad you're here. I appreciate you guys watching these videos. I appreciate the understanding of what our goal is, which is to make not necessarily the best, most efficient playthrough, but an entertaining one, and an authentic one where I talk about the actual process of what I'm doing instead of just, you know, cutting everything out. That's important to me. It may not be important to everybody, and that's okay, because, you know, there's a billion different things you can watch on YouTube now of people playing this game, and a lot of people are really, really good at it. I'm never going to promise to be the best, but I am going to promise to be honest. That's very important to me. And if that's important to you too, then absolutely happy to have you here. And even if it's not, I'm glad you stopped by. And I hope that you will consider tolerating some of the more frustrating stuff that I do tend to do from time to time, because I think the way that I do things is fun. I'm having a good time, and I guess at the end of the day, that's probably the most important thing. But I'm going to go ahead and get this paused again so we don't accidentally use the fancy blueprint before it can be duplicated. This looks like it's fine. Made some nice progress. We're in the process of getting the artist lodge going. We do have the copyist lodge going. Filling with pencil sets, and paper, importantly, is something that needs to be stocked here. And we're 79% of the way through having the blueprints for the zipline system done. And then once that's complete, we can come over here and we can pop this harvester upgrade on here, and we're going to be in a really, really good spot. So I'm going to get rid of this gatherer flag, because that is now a redundant job. This is a much faster, much better version of that. And friends, I think we are in a great position to have a successful rest of this playthrough, one piece at a time. So, like I said, whatever it is you're doing, stay safe, have fun. We'll see you again later. Bye-bye.